Hello. So earlier in the day, I was once again, for some reason, not according to my wish, was compelled to think again about Robert Malone. There is going to be some kind of a march, and this person is going to take the center stage as another doctor I've already interacted with at some time in the past has tweeted. This MD from Texas who was suspended from the Methodist Hospital. What is her name? I just can't, for the moment, think of it. What's her name? Um, Never mind. Mary, that's her name. Mary Baudin, I believe. So, let's go back to what point I was trying to make. Here, this is the tweet in my timeline. This is not in response to anyone. So I had earlier looked at this article, and honestly, I didn't give this article the attention that it deserves. So the link to the article is here. I'll open that link in a moment. So what I wrote down was, I'm curious, has Robert Malone ever used this paper as a reference? Has he used this as a citation or actually discussed the findings in a presentation? This is the link. Okay, I'll open the link now. And it opens up this document, which is from 2012, November 1. So this is many years ago that this document came out. And the name of the article is Developing mRNA Vaccine Technologies. Tell me honestly, had you heard about Robert Malone in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20? 2020 probably is when I heard about him. Toward the end of 2020. Before that, this person didn't exist for me. And to be honest, I wasn't aware about anything to do with mRNA technologies, vaccine or otherwise. It was not in my field of interest. So, well, going back, what I wrote down is the research done in the mRNA, M standing for messenger RNA field is after he is no longer a contributor. And just a couple of screenshots. And I highlighted in yellow and in green a portion from the beginning of the document. As you would go down, you would find that the article gets more technical. It's a long article. And quite honestly, if somebody was to look at all these references, which are hyperlinked with numbers 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9, and there are so many references, each with its own article. Quite honestly, if you go through all the references, it would take you a very long time. Though this is just one document, it links to so many other sources, and it will demand a lot of time and attention. Don't think this is just one web page, because it links, as far as I can recall, to at least more than 150 other web pages. or more. And it names all the scientists or doctors involved in the research. Now, let me read to you from the screenshot and why I'm coming back to this. So, the part that I've highlighted, particularly compared with DNA as a therapeutic, or more specifically as a vaccine, mRNA offers a strong safety advantage. Offers strong safety advantages, plural. And it links to number 5 as the reference. Actually, what I'll do is I'll go to the article and just not care about what I highlighted. You can take a look at that if you want to. The other screenshot is where you find the name Malone RW alongside Feldner PL, Verma IM, cationic liposome mediated RNA transfection. And this would be the article. PubMed link is also given. Cross-reference Google Scholar. If you did not know about R.W. Malone, Robert Malone, if you had come across this article, let's say in, say 5 years ago, and if I at that time told you, here's an article, here are the references, and just a moment, please. Okay, yeah. There are some disturbances because I'm at home, and as I mentioned in earlier videos, sounds coming from outside my home. My recording station is at the back, toward the back of my home, and across the street there is a restaurant and more businesses operating. So you get to hear sounds at odd times of the day, except for early morning and late night. Then it's quiet. Anyhow, coming back to this. So if somebody or I told you that this person, R.W. Malone, is the inventor of mRNA vaccines, him alone, no one else, and the inventor of the technology platform, I think that's what he says, what would your first reaction be? Would you look at me as if I've lost my mind, or what would you conclude? You would look at the names of all the others who have worked on this technology and its practical use. You'd ask me, well, is he? What about all these others? What about here, number 8, J. Probst, or B. Wide, or B. Shield, B. J. Pickler, I. Horror, H. G. Ramsey? Oh, none of these others did anything? And this man who's written down off us alongside Feldner and Verma, these two did nothing. This man alone is the inventor of mRNA vaccines, plural, and the technology platform. And they would ask me, well, what evidence do you have that he is? And what would I do? I would, to defend that claim, contact R.W. Malone, since he's the one making the claim, not me, or not anyone else. Ask him for evidence. And has this happened? Yes, it has happened. When evidence was demanded of him, he was unable to produce the evidence, which of course he cannot. What about all these other scientists who had worked on it? Ever heard their names? Who is this number 7? A.B. Shetvirin, replicable and recombogenic RNAs. Did he do anything? Nothing? That would be the impression that one would get if one listens only to R.W. Malone. Anyway, coming to the point, and this is just from the abstract. As you can see, this is a long article and goes into technical details, which, unless you're connected with the field, and then you keep on looking at every single phrase that you do not know of, every single term that you're not familiar with, it would not be possible to understand all of this. I am willing to say that a lot of doctors who are not connected with this field, if they look at this document for the first time, they're going to do what they always do. They're not born with all the knowledge. So as they open the document, they're going to use their background to understand. And what they don't understand, then references like these would come into play. And if that also doesn't help, then they will have to just investigate more. If that is what they are interested in, and if they're paid to do that, then they definitely would. Otherwise, why would they? So I'm going to upload this to my YouTube channel and hope it gets 50 million views. That would be great. Okay, that is not even my expectation. But I'm just enjoying doing what I'm doing here. I enjoy doing research on a lot of things. So here, from the abstract, let's get to the point here. mRNA vaccines combine desirable immunological properties with an outstanding safety profile and the unmet flexibility of genetic vaccines. Okay. Based on in situ protein expression, mRNA vaccines are capable of inducing a balanced immune response comprising both cellular and humoral immunity, while not subjecting to MHC haplotype restriction. Do I know what that is? I don't. Haplotype. Let's look at this. A haplotype is a group of alleles in an organism that are inherited together from a single parent. And if I want to do some research, what would I do? I'll say search the web for haplotype. And that would be a distraction. You could go to genome.gov, you could go to Wikipedia, you could go to Science Direct Topics, and you could go to haplotype.org and start looking. That is up to you to do. Let's get back to this from this point on. In addition, mRNA is an intrinsically safe vector, as it is a minimal and only transient carrier of information that does not interact with the genome. Because any protein can be expressed from mRNA without the need to adjust the production process, mRNA vaccines also offer maximum flexibility with respect to development. Taken together, mRNA presents a promising vector that may well become the basis of a game-changing vaccine technology platform. And remember, we're just in the abstract right now. Abstract is just not even an introduction. The introduction comes afterwards. Here we outline the current knowledge regarding different aspects that should be considered when developing an mRNA-based vaccine technology, and then it has all the keywords there. Introduction. Just go through the introduction and it'll become a lot more clearer to you. RNA is considered as notoriously unstable, making its therapeutic use a provocative idea. Despite the sensitivity of the molecule to the virtually omnipresent ribonucleases, RNases, this is the first reference here, Sorrentino S, human extracellular ribonucleases, multiplicity, molecular diversity, and catalytic properties of the major RNase types. That is the first reference. So mRNA as a therapeutic was first promoted in 1989 after the development of a broadly applicable in vitro transfection technique. 3 individuals mentioned there. Malone is there, aside from Feldner and Verma. But if you do research elsewhere, you would see that there are others involved before even this point came about. Only a couple of years later, mRNA was advocated as a vaccine platform, perhaps being ideal in the sense that it brings together the immunological features of live attenuated vaccines such as endogenous antigen expression and T-cell induction with those of killed or subunit vaccines like defined composition and safety. Again, more references. M.R. Hilleman, number 4, M.A. Liu. Again, more material for research. Next paragraph. This is where it gets interesting in the introduction itself. And where I'm reading from here. Particularly compared with DNA as a therapeutic, or more specifically as a vaccine, mRNA offers strong safety advantages. We are at the 5th reference, where Pascolo S. vaccination with messenger RNA is mentioned. And if you look at the history, Robert Malone is not even part of the developments at this point. He was there earlier when he was trying to complete his PhD, and he didn't. That's what I've read. He's no longer part of all this development process, and he says he's the inventor. He told me personally when I asked him on Twitter before he was suspended how he defends his claim, and he said he was the first one to develop it. He was the first. I was the first, were his exact words. And he did not mention that even the first paper that was written, he was not the sole author, but co-authored it with others. And all the hundreds of scientists after, he's willing to just ignore their efforts. So I'm sorry it's going in that direction again about this person, because he makes an astonishing claim. An astonishing claim, which no other individual mentioned in the references makes. No other individual makes that claim. Okay, so let's read this again. Particularly compared with DNA as a therapeutic, or more specifically as a vaccine, mRNA offers strong safety advantages. As the minimal genetic construct, it harbors only the elements directly required for expression of the encoded protein. Moreover, while recombination between single-stranded RNA molecules may occur in rare cases, mRNA does not interact with the genome. Thus, potentially detrimental genomic integration is excluded. Finally, this lack of genomic integration in combination with mRNA being non-replicative, as well as metabolically decaying within a few days, makes RNA a merely transient carrier of information. compare this with what Robert Malone says. And ever, if you can find him giving a lecture or in an interview and citing this paper, would he know about it? He knows about it. He knows about this paper. There's no doubt about that. His name is in this paper. Others, and myself included, put this in front of him. I'm not saying that was required or that it ensures that he read my message. That's not important. But is he aware that this paper exists? If he didn't know this paper existed since 2012, and he claims to be the inventor of mRNA vaccines and technology, then something is out of the ordinary. Maybe he was just sitting, wasting time, and not doing any research in the field. That's speculation on my part, but I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. Okay, this paragraph. mRNA as the technological basis of therapeutics and vaccines is characterized by great flexibility with respect to production and application. Any protein can be encoded and expressed by mRNA, in principle enabling the development of prophylactic and therapeutic vaccines fighting diseases as diverse as infections and cancer, and as well as protein replacement therapies. This is the line that came back to my mind. I had read this in the morning, or whenever I did. I think in early in the morning I read this. And I had read this before, didn't think of it. And then I thought of the claims that are made that these vaccines are leaky vaccines, they don't have efficacy, or that they are therapeutics, they're not really vaccines as traditional vaccines are meant to be. What does this article say? Right here, I didn't put this here, it's been there since 2012. Any protein can be encoded and expressed by mRNA, in principle enabling the development of prophylactic and therapeutic vaccines fighting diseases as diverse as infections and cancer, as well as protein replacement therapies. So what people have been saying, these are therapeutics and even prophylactics, that's what the paper says. Yes. People don't have to criticize this by coming to the conclusion. Of course they can, and it's good that they have come to the conclusion themselves, but it has been in writing for a long time. Right in front of you. There it is. And then what does this article say? Since changes of the encoded protein just alter the sequence of the RNA molecule, leaving its physical-chemical characteristics largely unaffected, diverse products can be manufactured using the same established production process without any adjustment, saving time and reducing cost compared with other vaccine platforms. In terms of efficacy, well, do we have disturbance from the outside? Somebody's whistling while working. I'll mute the mic for a moment. All right, I think we're back. Just a few moments. Okay. In terms of efficacy, mRNA-based therapeutics profit from the fact that they do not need to cross the nuclear envelope as opposed to DNA. And there are DNA vaccines as well, but these are not those. That's another kind of vaccine. In contrast to peptides, mRNA vaccines lack MHC haplotype restriction. In addition, mRNA binds to pattern recognition receptors, and mRNA vaccines may be designed to be self-adjuvanting, that's number 9, and I don't know the name of a single one of these scientists. This is also from 2011. Okay. A property which peptide and protein-based vaccines lack. All in all, mRNA presents a promising, even if challenging, class of therapeutic molecules that has the potential to become the basis of a disruptive technology. Caslow, DC, a potential disruptive technology in vaccine development, gene-based vaccines and their application to infectious diseases. 2004. In fact, they have the month, I don't know, I think the year is 2004, and all the rest of the details would have to go to the document to look. In the following, we are casting light on what has to be considered when developing an mRNA vaccine technology, touching important topics such as mRNA manufacturing and quality, mRNA format and formulations, as well as antigen, protein expression, and immunological properties of mRNA vaccines. So then the article gets into mRNA production, synthesis, and so on and so forth, purification, mRNA design, cap, poly A tail, UTRs, ORF, combinatorial design, and mRNA uptake. So you see all these stages are there. But don't worry, there's one man who could do it all, and you know his name. Formulation of mRNA, mRNA-mediated protein expression, adjuvanticity of mRNA vaccines, and mRNA-based vaccines, adjuvanted mRNA-based vaccines. Concluding remarks, disclosure of potential conflicts of interest. No potential conflicts of interest were disclosed. I know people who would jump through the whole document, come to this point, conflicts of interest. There is some. Well, thankfully, here's a document which has said this since 2012. Glossary? Thank goodness there's glossary. So all the acronyms that they've used are alphabetically included here. Footnotes, references, and just go through the references. How many do you see? And how many scientists do you see? Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. 152. Yes, I did remember it correctly. 152 references, every reference with a handful of scientists. So how many scientists would there be? You could just multiply 152 by 3 at the minimum. So you have at least over or close to 450, between 400 or 500 scientists listed here, and only one of them makes the claim to be the inventor of mRNA vaccines, solely responsible, exclusively knowledgeable, gifted by God to be where he is today. Wow. That's some sound coming from the outside. Anyhow, I'm done. It's close to 30 minutes. I'm glad I did this. And I'll leave the link to this document, and hopefully you'll go through it. Just a moment. Well, I muted the mic they're doing what they have to. They're getting ready for the evening shift. So that's why the sound from the kitchen, I'm used to it. It would be new for you. Anyhow, this is done. I hope you go through the document. Thank you for your time, and bye-bye.